Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation and welcome to the Andy Campbell Football Show, episode number 46 of the Andy Campbell Show overall. And we're going to be talking some football and talking with our guest about his career as well as a few other things. But just as we wait for the live chat to fill up a little bit, do some plugs as always. You can catch any of our podcast shows and interviews, which we do at A.C.E Podcast Nation, youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation for the video views. And if you want to listen to it or download it, you can get it at all your usual radio podcasting apps, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the usual places, usual suspects, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and alike. We've got shows on MMA, boxing, football, wrestling, TV, films, conspiracy theories, loads and loads and more. We've also got a new cricket series debuted, which I'm recording tomorrow with West Indies international Kieran Powell, former Glamorgan cricketer, and Nyron Norman, which will be interesting as we preview the England versus West Indies series, which starts at the beginning of July. We've got a very exciting boxing series coming soon as well, all worth checking out. Also, I'd like to take the time to thank Martin and Black Diamond Sports for all the support, supporting the channel. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, helping us out. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. You can find more information at their social media pages and in particular their LinkedIn page. But I highly recommend them indeed. But that's the plugs. That's the boring stuff as such. The plugs. Let's get into the good stuff. And joining me as usual, my partner in crime, the speed demon, the goal collector, Mr. Andrew Campbell, former Cardiff City and Middlesbrough legend. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, mate. Very well. Pleased to be here again.
Yeah,
Highlight my week.
Always, mate.
Yeah, good long week, I think. So I'm not sure why, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to this.
Indeed. And joining us, of course, is former Rangers, Blackpool, I'm going to miss one, Stoke, Liverpool.
Loads.
And former, not former, Scotland International and current Reading midfielder, Mr. Charlie Adam. How are you, sir?
Good evening. All good, thank you. You?
Yeah,
Privileged,
good.
Charlie. Great to have you on, mate. Thanks for joining us, mate.
It's good to come on.
Really looking forward to it. So what we like to do, Charlie, to start is we have this thing called the Magnificent Seven, which is basically 7 quick-fire questions. We just ask you to say the first thing which comes to mind when we ask, and it just lets the viewers get a feel for you and your tastes, as it were. So,
Yep.
Magnificent 7 with Charlie Adam. Here we go. Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Stone Roses or Oasis?
Oasis.
Kenny Dalglish or Fergie?
Oh, this is a tough one, this, Charlie.
Oh, this is hard. Yeah.
Does he go with a Scottish icon,
yeah,
or does he go with someone who signed him at Liverpool?
Yeah, I'll go for Kenny. Same me. Yeah.
Oh, good shout.
That's in my bad book straight away. Stevie Gerrard or Roy Keane?
Steven Gerrard.
The manager who gives the best hairdryer treatment?
Walter Smith.
Oof, good shout.
Didn't know that.
Best roommate?
I'm fortunate. I've not shared for a long time, and the last time I shared a room was with Stephen Craney at Blackpool.
Okay. And worst trainer?
Ever.
Wow.
Ever, mate, yeah. Ever.
Yeah.
Gianni Mbula.
There we go. It's the Charlie Adam Magnificent 7. And so what we like to do as well is after we've done that, just before we get into your career, Charlie, we discuss a couple of stories from over the weekend. Where do you want to start, And?
I'd like to start with 2 things. Obviously, I want to look at the Aston Villa game against Sheffield United and start with goal line technology and obviously just take on Charlie's take of what you saw. Charlie, I don't know if you watched the game. You know what I mean? I've been so excited to watch football and get football back. You know, I know you played at the weekend, and And I just think everyone was so excited to watch the game, and then it just turned into an absolute shambles again. You know what I mean? It just gives football a bad name. So, what was your take on what happened, and what could have or should have happened instead of what happened?
Going back to the technology, it started the Sheffield United game was shambolic, wasn't it? How they, how can you put everything into the whole season of VAR and everything like that, and then a goal like that happen, and not given, no help from anybody else. It was clearly over the line, but we could just say it's an error. I think it was something like 9,000. 1 in 9,000 or something like that. So it's hard to take. It's going to be big for Sheffield United because they obviously feel it might take a little bit of momentum. Obviously, the result yesterday was not great. The performance not to the level that they're capable of. But I think they deserve a lot of plaudits still, Sheffield United. They've done incredible. It's 2 bad results for them, really, in the space of 7-8 months. So, no, they've been excellent. But, it was a whole build-up, wasn't it? And, I felt that the games have probably been flat. I think the Tottenham game's probably been the best game I've seen.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I'll go back on your point there, though, about Chrissy Wilder. Obviously, I played for Chrissy at Halifax Town, and I could see how much he was hurting. I could see how much he was hurting yesterday and still reeling about what happened at Villa. Because you just said there about momentum that, you know what I mean? He builds his sides on that momentum and building from game to game and pushing on from one game to the next. And, you know what I mean? That for them, and them alone, probably them and Wolves are probably the 2 teams I really feel sorry for about stopping the season, because they were hitting the ground running, they were doing really well, and who knows where they would have ended, because they rely on the atmosphere at Bramall Lane. They strive on going to these big grounds and hostile atmospheres. So, you know what I mean? I feel really sorry for teams like that.
Yeah, they do, and I was fortunate enough. I've always liked how Chris has played, and Alan Neil done a good job, but I was fortunate enough that I managed to speak to him. We played him in the cup just before really the pandemic hit, and I got about 20 minutes before I wasn't involved in the game and just talking to him and that, and he just come across as a top guy, top manager, and his way of talking, the way he wanted to play the game was great. And do you know what I mean? And he gave me time that, as somebody that wants to learn the game still, he was like, just have my number, come and speak, come and see the training anytime you want. So I've got a lot of respect for him. I thought he was brilliant. But it's a big decision, and it will hurt. If it didn't hurt, then it'd be a worry. Do you know what I mean? It's a huge decision. And listen, they've got to get over it, but he'll get them over it in the next few games, and they'll definitely be back to the way they are.
Yeah, totally agree.
For me though, right? What's the point in having the VAR referees if when it was obvious within 30 seconds after it happened that it was a goal? Now, what's the point in having these video assistant referees if they don't step in at that point and tell the referee the goal line technology has failed? It's a goal, because that could cost Sheffield United a Champions League space, which they may never have the opportunity to get again. And I'm struggling with that a big time.
I've got a problem though. The problem goes further than VAR here, because what's the point of a linesman? You know what I mean? A linesman was on the side of where the ball's in the goal. Do you know what I mean? So the linesman has got to give the goal as the first person. The ref can't see from where he is. Impossible. If he makes that call, it's a brave person if it's not gone in. The linesman can see a good angle. The watch should also see it. It didn't. It obviously went off at half time. Apparently 15 minutes later on, it was on a 15-minute timer. VAR's got to then overrule it. So there's so many error judgments. There's so many wrong things what have happened. You know what I mean? It's just taking its time to come to the right conclusion.
Because obviously in the European games you have these officials at the side of the goal. Here's my opinion on it. Why don't the opposite side linesmen come in and stand beside the goal?
I agree.
Because then he could spot pushing. Because like we had the same Saturday, there was an absolute stonewall penalty. We had a push in the back, and the referee never gave it. He would have gave it if the crowd was there. But if the fourth official would actually, the linesman actually come over to near the goalpost or seen it or near the 6-yard box, he would have seen it. So it's the same for that situation where the VAR doesn't work. The linesman should actually come back towards the goal, and he can actually see what's going on in the penalty area in case the referee misses it or whatever, and it's another eye closer to the box. That's what I think that should happen. But
right then, Charlie, we can then go further than that. Then, so what's your opinion in VAR not being involved in the Championship? Because if you're in the FA Cup this season, if you played away in the Premier League against Sheffield United, you have VAR there. If you played them at the Majeski, you don't get VAR, and there's so many things wrong with that.
No, I think so, and I think that the Championship have got the money to do it. They should be allowed to do it. There is so much pressure on Championship clubs getting promoted, and small decision and margins could make a difference to these clubs. And I believe that they should at least be a fund from the Premier League or something to make it happen, especially the Championship, because there's so much at stake with the reward, It's but we could keep talking to the cows come home, and it's not probably never going to change, is it?
No. Well, the thing is, though, I think we've seen over the course of COVID-19 that all the leagues are in England and in Britain are treated differently. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, you know what I mean. So for me, it should be one rule for one rule for everybody else, and it should be a continuation, and everybody sticking together and pushing in the same direction. But they're not. It's not going to be, and I think we just got to get on with it, like you say. You know what I mean? Some leagues are taken a lot more seriously than others. You know what I mean? The Premier League is obviously the place where everyone wants to be. Of course it is. You know what I mean? The Championship is for me, is the holy grail as well, which is the way to make money, because you win that, you get in the playoffs like you did at Blackpool, which we're going to talk about later on. That you get it's worth a lifetime for a football club in terms of financial. You know what I mean? And exposure and sponsorship, etc. You know what I mean? It puts you on the map, and it's just fine margins, but that could cost. So that could cost Reading. You know what I mean? In big terms, if it was a place in the playoffs, promotion, relegation, it's not fair, and it shouldn't be happening in this day and age in football.
No, listen, individual. If we never had the VAR and, like say, individuals, we could hang it. But in the Premier League, there's no way that this should be happening. You know, it's people have got to step in. They've got the television, they've got the VAR, they wanted it brought in, it's there, and to all of a sudden for it not to work, it's incredible. And
that's what I agree.
It's a shame, because it puts pressure on Michael Oliver at the time as a referee. Do you know what I mean? And it's, at the end of the day, he's saying my watch never worked, or the thing never worked. It's human. It is a technical error, but people, Stockley Park, or I don't know.
The point I've got, Charlie, as well, like, and it's backing referees up here. You know what I mean? I'm not really an advocate for that on here. Normally, I'm here to slag them off, but I think if the referee didn't wear the watch and that technology wasn't there, he still wouldn't have given the goal, because he didn't see it, and he can't see it from the angle he was at unless he stood directly on the goal line or on the byline. He's not going to see that going in the net. You know what I mean? Then he's looking over to his linesman. He's looking over for help from somebody else. And like you say, if there was another body getting level where it helps, the more people there are going to help make them decisions and get them right. But I think sometimes we're a little bit reliant. Well, he was especially reliant on his technology, but he's got to be.
Craig makes a good point here in the chat. He says, why can't they use the big screens in the ground while there's no fans in the ground? Obviously, he understands that they can't use the screens when the fans are in the grounds, because it could cause problems. But while there's no fans there, there's no real excuse to not integrate those big screens with the VAR, I think. But
yeah, there is a point. But then you look at a ground like Old Trafford. They don't have the screen. They only have a small thing, a technical. So then we're trying to make excuses already by bringing other big screens into English. So it's changing the dynamic of the game before. You know what I mean? We're trying to. We're only talking about that because there was an error made. If there was no error made, we wouldn't be talking about trying to bring another extra screen in so everybody could see. It's difficult. It's tough on Sheffield United as a group of players and as a club. But they have to just get on with it, put it to the back of their mind, and hoping that they can pick up, because I thought they were disappointing yesterday, and I was looking forward to watching them. But people were asking me the other day, what about Newcastle? If I looked at it, I'd still expect Newcastle to be beating Sheffield United, no matter how well they are. It's Newcastle, big club. It's a tough place to go.
Huge club.
But it is what it is, and they'll bounce back. Sheffield United, I think they have been excellent, and they'll bounce back to that in the next game.
Just while we're on about Aston Villa and Sheffield United, I watched an interview today. Dean Smith did an interview about Jack Grealish, and he did. It was about Jack being the most fouled midfield player in the league. He's been fouled 140 times, which is nearly double than the next person, which is Wilfried Zaha. And Wilfried Zaha, obviously a winger, he takes people on. He's that kind of player. Why is it then that Jack Grealish is getting fouled as much? Is it a vendetta, like Dean Smith is saying, or is it just the way that Jack plays his football? So obviously you'll have played directly against Jack, so you know, I mean, he likes to get the ball to feet. He keeps close control of the ball. So what is it? What makes him get tackled that much?
Oh, he's a good player. Simple as that.
Very
You
good
know,
player.
he's a dangerous player. So, you know, people say if we stop Aston Villa, we've got a better chance of beating them. If we stop Jack Grealish, he's the main player. Yeah, he's been fouled a lot, but when you've got somebody like that, a talent, you know, if you stop them, you know, Villa aren't the same team if he's playing foot flow. And at times yesterday he was playing as a fullback. That's just the pressure that Chelsea put on you. So I just like to see him more central instead of playing on a wider area. I think he's better as a 10. But it's he's a terrific talent, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer one, because you know he deserves we'll probably get a move if they do go down. But no, listen,
totally agree.
Aston Villa's a great club, big club, agree. And he's a good player, you know.
It's interesting what you've just said there, though, Charlie. Sorry, Si. It's about Jack Grealish. That Jack Dean tried to say how influential he is as a player, but they tried to. He said that we haven't relied on him too much in the last two games, and then the reporter threw back at him. Well, but you haven't won in the last two games. You've drew and you've lost. So you know what I mean. Sometimes you'd rather be reliant on your best player. You know what I mean. That he made the point that he played a lot out wide against Chelsea, but he set the goal up, which he laid back to the fullback to cross in for the centre half to finish, which is great. But I'm the same as you. I like him getting in the ball, driving in the box. You know what I mean? I'll use his example like he did for Villa against Birmingham last year. You know what I mean? That it's a hostile atmosphere, but he's driving in, taking people on, shooting across the goalkeeper. That's a Jack Grealish, what we all want to see for club and country. And if he's not doing that, he's going to struggle to get in the England squad if he's not playing in them kind of positions.
No, but if you're going back to the thing, it's difficult for Jack Grealish when he needs players to get him on the ball. He needs people to be able to penetrate between the lines. Yeah. You know, instead of playing sidewards and backwards, he needs somebody in midfield that actually, you know, gets excited when he be able to pass it forwards. You know what I mean, and be able to get him on it, because there's no better when you're playing a team like that and you see your best talented player and you can get him on the ball and he goes by people and he's a bag of tricks and he can get fouls and he entices players to dive in. No, it's a joy to actually stand behind him and watch him. Do you know what I mean? So the biggest onus, I think, is on the players trying to find him the ball more regular. I don't think they try and get him on it enough. Yeah, because I don't see it in their team. They don't have somebody that looks to penetrate the pass forward at times between the lines. They've got nice, tidy footballers in there.
Yeah.
So, listen, it is tough when you're at a team that's down the bottom, and you know there's a lot of onus on a youngster who's a local lad, captain, and people are trying to look for inspiration from him. And you know, if he does have a tough game or a bad game, you know, Villa seem to lose, or you know, it's not just about dry. They're losing too many goals at the other end as well, and that's not helping.
But you can't run a team, can you, Si? You can't. We spoke about this before. You know what I mean, about the lads in the Championship predominantly. Lads, you know what I mean. You can't do things on your own, and Jack's a local boy. He's played for Villa all his life. He takes it to heart when they lose. You know what I mean. And like you say there, Charlie, you know what I mean. As a current player, you know what I mean. As an opposition against him, that you keep him quiet. You know what I mean. You can snub Villa out a little bit, so it doesn't give him much. It doesn't give him much of an opportunity, then, does it? No,
and that's the big thing for them. Then that's the worry for Aston Villa at the moment. He needs to pick his level up in the last, next few games to try and get them out of the problems that they're in.
So, do you think that regardless of whether Villa go down or stay up, do you think if United, for instance, come in with 50 million, Villa have got to take that? Like, you're making 50 million from a hometown, an academy product. What do you think, Charlie? Do you think they got to take that?
They don't need to take it because they've got a rich owner. They don't need to, but for his career to go and play at the next level where he deserves an opportunity to go and flourish at if it is a Man United, or is it someone else, an Everton maybe? I would see it happening. It's they're definitely going to be interested him and John McGinn in the summer. If they're in the Premier League or they do go down, the two of them have done extremely well the last few months, last year and this Premier League season. So it'll be interesting times, but I don't think Aston Villa are under any pressure to sell him. I just think it'll be a decision for him as a player. Does he feel he's done enough for Aston Villa and to move on if it's a Man United that want him?
Good shout. Right, moving on a little bit. Obviously, we've covered COVID-19. Obviously, the bad and the ugly. But I'd like to look at the positives, Charlie. That how it affected you. You know what I mean? In the positive more than the negatives. Obviously, football was taken away from you. But how did you keep on fit? Keep on getting fit? Did you do your own stuff? Did you get a program from the club? Talk us through how that all happened?
Well, I used it as a positive. I used it as a mini pre-season. I had a week off when it all hit, and I thought to myself, right, I need to go and train hard. I need to use it as a platform because I'm out of contract. So you still got to think about next season as well. You got to think, right, I've got 9 games. I don't know when I'm going to be there. And mentally as well, it was an opportunity to get out of the house for an hour and a half to exercise that we're allowed to do. I'm living in London, my family are up north, so it was good to spend time with my kids at home as well for 8-9 weeks, every day. And so I used it as a mental thing to be able to get out of the house away, from the kids, keep to a daily routine of training at 10 o'clock. Yeah. And I worked hard and, hopefully going to get the rewards in the next 9 games, get an opportunity to play and see what happens in these 9 games. And, we drew at home at the weekend, which was tough. We did okay and, opportunities up to about 70 minutes, and then they started launching balls in the box and they caused us problems. We never defended the goal. Probably, looking back, it was I'd say it was probably my fault for the goal. I misread the cross and I thought that we were going to miss it. And, when you're defending set plays in the 94th minute, you got to deal with the cross, and probably I never done it well enough. And we lost the goal. So I'm disappointed with that. But, it's been good for me as a fitness side and, using it as a mental preparation for the next 9 games.
Just while you spoke about the game at the weekend, so what was it like being back under obviously no fans? That must probably be the first time you've done that in a hell of a long time. We were speaking about, it reminded me a little bit like of playing Ponting's League Reserve games back in 1995, 96, that playing in front of no fans has never been anything to me. It's always been fans, and fans have made football, so it must have been very strange.
No, the thing for me is because when I was at Stoke and even at Reading, if I don't play on a Saturday and there's like a 23s game or the Checker Trade that we could all play in at the moment, senior players can play in that. I always put my name forward to play because I want to play at least 190 minutes a week if I can to try and stay sharp. So I'm sort of used to it, as in there's nobody coming to these Checker Trade games. So there was nobody, you know what I mean? So it was like that. And for me, Saturday, I actually quite enjoyed it. But the problem you half thought was when you're actually shouting on the pitch, you could hear, everybody could hear what you're shouting. And if the fans are in the stadium, sometimes they can't hear you. So I think sometimes you've got to tone down how you actually speak to your teammates, because everybody can see it. Do you know what I mean? And hear it. So it is tough, but no, I actually quite enjoyed it. It was no different. Once you cross that white line, it's about going and winning football matches, and that's hopefully what we can do for now to the end of the season.
Charlie, sorry, mate. I was going to say, in the live chat, Gaz has just asked, he said, is it harder to play in now, knowing your contract is up, and did you sign a short-term extension to take you through the rest of the season?
Well, I signed a short-term extension this morning before we played Oxford in a friendly this afternoon, just for the lads that never played at the weekend to get 90 minutes. So I signed that extension to the end of the season because I feel that it's an opportunity to play games still. Put yourself in a shop window if Reading don't want you for next season. Listen, there's no situation. We've not spoken anything yet, so it's just a matter of time to go and play and enjoy yourself, getting back out on the pitch hopefully. So
did you win,
no-brainer for me? We won 2-1. I managed to nick a goal as well, so that helps. A little header.
There you go.
So
header from the halfway line.
Nah, 2 yards. That was a poacher's goal.
Hey, it's all right. It's all right. One thing, obviously, you said something earlier on about your contract's coming up, and you just said there about obviously you signed a short-term deal. Was there any thoughts that you would not play this rest of the season? Because obviously Lyle Taylor, a couple of lads at Middlesbrough have said they're not going to do it. A couple of 5 lads at Hull. So there's a lot of players who aren't playing for various reasons, contracts, fear, etc. So was there any party what was never going to play?
No, never. I always thought that when it happened, and speaking to people, my agent, speaking to, family, I wanted to play. There was always I think everybody's situation is different. Ryan Fraser, you can name. Lyle Taylor, name. They're going on to bigger and better clubs. They've got moves lined up, so they've got an opportunity to do something different. Why would you risk that new contract that you're going to get? I could see the point of view. It's going to be life changing for Lyle Taylor wherever he goes. So I see both sides of it. I see the club will be thinking, why you don't want to play. But then there's obviously clubs that are thinking, well, we can get rid of players. If you look at Joe Hart's situation, he's been told that he won't play for Burnley again, so he's gone. So I
totally agree. There was a couple of lads from Bournemouth as well, a couple of lads at Burnley again that teams are seeing it a way of saving a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So seasonal contracts and stuff. Yeah.
So it works both ways, but there was never any doubt. I want to play games. There's plenty of games to play. 9 games. Put you in a shop window if nothing materialises, and we'll see what happens. And that's how I view it.
What about? Go on, Si.
I was just going to ask: do the clubs consult the players in terms of, just like if they're comfortable with the regulations or whatever's in place in regards to training and things like that? Is that like an ongoing thing?
And in what circumstances? As in,
just with it, with everything like the pandemic and everything, and training and everything starting back up.
Yeah, there's a protocol. There's the way you get looked after. Obviously, we get tested twice a week, Monday and a Thursday. We got tested before the game today. We drive into the training ground. The doctors come out. They give you take your temperature. They give you the swab. You do the swab. You hand it back, and then you go and train, and then you get the results within 24 hours. So it's been great. It's flowed with us. We've been. I've never felt any doubt or any worry. The club have always been up front with us and said this is what we want to do, and we're just looking to try and win a few games, hopefully, and push up the league.
How about fear then going forward, Charlie? Because obviously an Arsenal player today has been has got COVID-19, tested positive. So how do you feel going forward if a fellow Reading player was tested positive?
Well, we've had positive tests. And that's
it doesn't affect you mentally.
No, it doesn't affect me mentally. No, it's the biggest thing for if anybody catches it is their well-being. Make sure they're okay, that they don't all of a sudden slip into a bad situation where they're potentially hospitalised or anything like that. That's the worry. It's no, it's a strange one for it. Is it Arsenal? Is it the Arsenal that have been?
Yeah, one lad today.
So, It's strange because I think there's got to be contact for 15 minutes. So it's what he's been doing away from the game, And for instance, for me, I know that when I finish training, I get in my car, I go to my flat in Reading. I don't really go out. I don't maybe go to get some shopping and things like that. But I'll be in and out. I'm not around many people. So for me to catch it would be I'd be very surprised. So. It is what it is, but you just got to respect each other and do the right things and make sure you're ready to go.
Great stuff. Right, so before we move on to your so far unbelievable successful career, Charlie, we've been very fortunate, Si, haven't we, that we've sorted a link out, a new sponsor, so exclusive news for all of you as we've we've made a link with Bespoke Finances and Dan Rounstone in particular. Bespoke Financial is our new sponsor, the number one protection firm in the UK. The financial group specialises in life insurance, critical illness insurance, income protection, mortgages, and sport cover. So obviously, especially what's happening with COVID-19, I think it's a perfect time to get in touch, because I've known the boys who run the company. I know Darren very well personally, and I've got all of those various covers with the company. So I think it's so important that you look after yourself outside of football, inside of football, outside of life, and things. And I think it's so important. So I think the link that we've got as a show is a very successful and hopefully a long-winded one as well, Si.
Indeed, mate. Yeah, they obviously they're the financial company up by your way, and I know they're looking to branch out into other cities around the UK. And there's no better city than Cardiff, let me tell you. But I've always got to slip that in. But excited, welcome them on board, and it's good to keep growing, my friend. Okay, so let's talk.
By the way, he's done a good job, Neil Harris.
To be fair, I was very critical of him at the start. I thought, not of him. I think of the club. I thought when Neil Warnock left, I thought it was a very strange and a sideward step to bring him in. I thought they were talking about Lee Boyer. They were talking about various other people who would have taken the club down a different route. And to be fair, I watched Sunday, and we did a quick interview on Sunday lunchtime just before the game, and we spoke about the team, we spoke about the formation, we spoke about various things, what could happen, possibly were going to happen. And to be fair, he got his tactics spot on. He picked the right team, the right formation. Yes, Leeds were a threat because they're full of good players, like Charlie, who played against them, and they're an excellent footballing side. But Cardiff, they've got an opportunity now. They've got a big game on Saturday against Preston away. And there's always a team who gets in the playoffs very late, and if it can be Cardiff City, I can see them going all the way.
Yeah, no, I think I just think that they've not changed over the last few years in how they play. Right, it's no pretty football. It's efficient. They don't care about going back to front, but I'm talking about the points that he's got since he's come in. It's been incredible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think a lot of the fans were a little bit annoyed with the way that the club decided that they went down a similar route as Neil Warnock, because the brand of football under Sir Neil Warnock wasn't great. You played against his side before. I've watched him a lot of times, like Sayers and all the Cardiff fans who follow us have, and it's not pretty to watch. When you don't get the result you want, it's pretty tedious and pretty depressing. But when you win, it doesn't matter how you play. But I think Neil's scoring a lot more goals than Neil Warnock was. He's letting a lot more in, which, if you're going to play a little bit more expansive and a little bit more attacking, that's going to happen. But I thought on Saturday, I looked at the team and I wasn't happy that Gratzel wasn't playing, but Gratzel came on, scored an absolute fantastic goal, and just shut me up. So it was nice, and I just hope Cardiff can push on now, because as I say, I've still got a place in my heart for them. One of my kids was born there while I played there, so it was lovely time for me in my life.
Charlie, you mentioned managers there. On the Championship show, me and Andy have raved about the impact which Mark Bowen's had on the Reading team. It's been really sensational. What's he like to work under? Obviously, a Welshman, former Welsh international himself.
You had to drop that in, didn't you? You had to drop that in.
Yeah. No, I worked with him as Stoke, as Mark Hughes' number 2. So I knew what he was coming. Nothing's changed. It's never complicated. Where a manager previous who tried to complicate everything, he wanted to play the right way and never worked. Trying to play at the back and it was never on. But he keeps it simple. He tries to listen. There's fundamentals in how we play. Second balls, press the game, get after teams. Turn. If you want to turn teams, we turn them. It's doing the right things properly, but allowing our front players, once we get into their half, to go and express themselves, play with freedom and enjoyment, with a smile on your face, and I think that's what managers should do. I think sometimes managers come in and they overcomplicate things and they try and play out for the back. If you look at Norwich, for instance, they try to play out the back every week and they keep getting caught. And that comes through gamesmanship, mentality of the team. at times you've got to go along and miss a press or whatever. So no, he's done a good job. Our biggest issue that we have is changing the mentality of the team's been fighting relegation for a few years, so it's now coming to trying to get the players into the winning mentality of winning, trying to win every week, and not just accepting a draw is good enough. It's about winning and getting promoted, and that's the plain facts,
Well,
I watched the game side start the season. We spoke about quite a lot on the Championship show. It was at the start of the season, Charlie. It was Reading against Cardiff. You beat Cardiff, I think 3-1, and Puskás scored. I think he scored 2, and it was just he was out of this world. I've never, on his day, on that day, and he was unplayable, and Cardiff just couldn't live with him. And Cardiff were all singing, all dancing, come down to the Premier League, and on the day it was like men against boys, and you know what I mean. But the thing is, though, like you say there about mentality, sometimes it's easier playing against the teams who come down because they've got the big names, they've got the big expectations. It's when you need to play against the lesser sides that you've got to raise your game back again, and sometimes players can't always do that.
Yeah, and that's the inconsistency we've had all season. We do well against the big teams, and I remember it well. We turned Cardiff over. We thought at the start of the season, they'd come down from the Premier League, and we done a job on them. But they regrouped. Obviously Neil Warnock left. The mentality of their group, Big Saul and what's his name, Pack in midfield. The good Championship players. They know how to win games. And listen, you said before, there's always a team that come with a run, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Cardiff.
No, I certainly agree.
And just before we go into Charlie's career and starting, I'm just going to do a couple of the live chat questions, just so we don't end up with a billion.
There's one on there from one of my ex-students, Ben Scaling.
Okay,
he is big Charlie fan.
I'll get to him now then. So let's have a look. What we got? There was one. There he is. Jack Taylor asked Charlie, "Is Gareth Bale the hardest player that you ever played against?"
Listen, Gareth Bale was a top player. Is a top player. I never really played against him 1-on-1. I keep saying I was fortunate enough to play against some of the greatest players they played in the Premier League and in the Champions League. But, I always keep going back to somebody like Scott Parker, who's old-fashioned midfielder, aggressive, does not give you a minute on the ball. And I always found it tough playing against Scott Parker every time I played. So
he was underrated. He was underrated, Charlie, wasn't he, Scotty?
Very underrated. Yeah, Scotty technically was good. Nick a goal, but he was like a rash. He was always behind you. He was always near you, close to you. And he was the one that I thought, was it going to be a tough afternoon every time I played against him.
He's surprised. He's surprised he's a manager now.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, some people don't. It doesn't force your hand to it, do they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
was surprised. I've known Scotty most of my career. You know what I mean? I played England with him, and when he was at Charlton, going back at his start of his career, and obviously West Ham and Chelsea, and he's had an unbelievable career. Yeah. And I didn't expect him to go in at the level he did. You know what I mean? And to be fair, I think he's done a fine job. You know what I mean? I hope he doesn't blow up for him and it affect him long term if he wants to be a manager. But you know what I mean? He's done all right so far.
No, he has done all right. Listen, it's a perfect job, innit? Fulham on the King's Road, and so it's a nice place to play, Fulham. But there's always pressure because of the coming back from the Premier League and the salaries that they're paying, the big numbers for Mitrovic and people like that, Kearney. So a lot of pressure on them. But no, he's done a good job.
Yeah, totally agree.
Another question, Charlie, was what team did you support growing up? That was from James Costley.
Oh, I'm still am a Dundee supporter. I supported them as a kid.
Will be happy.
Yeah, that's my local team, and just always supported them. Yeah.
I couldn't believe when I went up to Scotland, because I came across you, Charlie, when I went to Dunfermline. I didn't know a lot about Scottish football when I went up. A little bit ignorant of me, obviously. But obviously, how close the two grounds were, Dundee United and Dundee. Obviously, until you got it's just unbelievable. It's probably similar to Nottingham Forest. That, you know what I mean? It's obviously over the river, but it's just over the road. I just can't believe how you can have two football clubs that close together, who obviously can be both successful as well. You know.
Yeah, obviously Dundee United have obviously got promoted this season from the Championship back up to Premier League, and Dundee are still in the Championship. But when they play each other, the players walk from one stadium down to, like, if Dundee are playing at Dens, they walk down pre-match up the road, and then they walk to Tannadice down the street to the other stadium. It's bizarre, but you know, the big thing is there's no hatred when the two of them play each other. It's they actually, both teams will, you know, for 90 minutes they'll have a laugh and a joke and that, but if you go into a bar after the game, they'll all sat having a drink and enjoying it with each other, a bit of banter flying. It's, you know, it's a good derby. It's nothing too serious or, you know, anything like that.
I think that probably moves us on to your career then. So obviously we just spoke about a derby there. That I don't think you get any more fierce than the derby that you started with then in your first club and your, you know what I mean. It doesn't get any bigger than that then. So tell me what's it like to be an Old Firm player before and then obviously then playing in an Old Firm.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the pressure. You know, the Rangers and Celtic. You have to be sensible what you're going to do, especially leading up to an Old Firm weekend.
Yeah.
But even through the younger age groups, it was just we wanted to beat Celtic because it was your rivals. You know, 15s, 16s, under 18s. It was make sure you beat Celtic, and the buzz you got from winning the games were massive. But to get an opportunity to actually play in an Old Firm game at Celtic Park in front of 60,000, it's deafening. The atmosphere is incredible. You know, the intensity of both the games are electric. And I'm fortunate enough, got a few wins. And no, they're great games. Anybody that gets an opportunity to go and watch one, I'd recommend. You know.
But talk us through then, Charlie. Talk us through the feeling you've got in the tunnel outside the changing room, Celtic Park away from home, just about to walk out. Talk us through that, because obviously I played at Celtic Park, and you don't. It's not that. There's not that kind of feel. You know what I mean? You look next to you, and you know what I mean. Back in the day when I played, it was Chris Sutton, Roy Keane, John Hartson. You know what I mean? Alan Thompson, and you know what I mean. You're thinking, if we can keep this down to 4-5, you know, we different mentality, you know. But you know, you're not wanting to look next door because you're thinking it's a war. You know what I mean? You're going out there and it's going to be an absolute hatred between one team and another. You know.
Yeah. So just the whole build up is exciting. You obviously get to the ground, and when you get off the bus at Celtic Park, there could be 2,000, 3,000 Celtic fans waiting for you getting off the bus, and they give you dog's abuse, which is great. It's part of the, you know, the being a footballer, and you know, you go inside. But that whole, I think what's spoiled it now is taking away the supporters. You know, having only 800, 900 now. But when I was there, it was like you used to get that whole back section, and you know, 5,500, 6,000 Rangers fans there. So you'd come out to warm up. And what we always used to do was obviously stood in the tunnel, and like you said, people like Thompson, Lennon, Petrov, you know, these players are beside you. And it was, listen, we wanted to win, and we got some great games. But we used to always go when Celtic were doing the You'll Never Walk Alone or the huddle. We used to go over to the Rangers fans and clap and make them wait. And, you know, it used to get them a bit upset, and you know, used to get under the skin a little bit. So it was things like that, little mind games that we used to do. And you know, winning at Celtic Park was incredible. When you win at Celtic Park, you'd walk out to the bus and you'd be lucky if there was 30, 40 Celtic fans waiting for you, because you know, it was they wouldn't like it. But it's it's an amazing game, and it's when you're a footballer, these are the games that you miss, you know.
How old were you, Charlie, when you played in your first Old Firm game?
Maybe 20, 21 maybe.
It's quite young. Was it difficult to deal with the pressure of playing for Rangers when you're so young? You know, and footballers get abuse at the best of times, don't they? But I would imagine like a Rangers-Celtic kind of rivalry is probably... No,
I thrived on the pressure. I thrived at enjoying that type of pressure. The big games, the big moments. That's what you worked from when you were a young kid to growing up to getting an opportunity to go and play for for Rangers. I had to go on a couple of loan spells, which were difficult for me, but I used the loan spells as a base where I can go and show my talents, and hopefully, Rangers was when you sign for Rangers, that's how you think about it, as Rangers. No matter what, you always want to be at Rangers, but it comes to a point where you have to make a sacrifice in your career, that what's best for your career, and I had to do that when I left to go to Blackpool. Listen, I was heartbroken to leave to go to Blackpool, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I had a great time at Rangers, great upbringing and full-time football, and that reward was playing 70 odd games for Rangers, and it was brilliant.
You just said it there, Charlie, about loan moves, and so how important are they? I had I think I had about 20, to be fair, in throughout my career. But at the start, when I was young, I went on loan to Sheffield United under Steve Bruce. I went to Bolton Wanderers under Sam Allardyce, and I learned and became a man very quickly, because I didn't have a choice, that you're playing against men regular week in, week out, and I found that really helped me to go back to Middlesbrough to really understand what it means to play first team football week in, week out.
Well, it's not about the money, but how I used it was when I went to like Ross County, the lads were on big money, but what I realised quickly that the win bonus meant a lot to them. Their appearance money meant a lot to them, because it was you pay the mortgage or the cars, and I was they just made me grow up so quick. It was and like I say, the right characters. If a senior player has a go at you as a young lad, you react in the right manner, and I just see it now that some of these young kids, they just shrug shoulders and they don't even want to listen and learn from me because they think that you're having a go at them, when really you're trying to help them. I just used that these lads were trying to help me progress my career. They knew that I had a talent. It was just trying to showcase that every week and showing that what it means to win games on a Saturday. And like you say, there is no better feeling on a Saturday when you win and you've played well, and you can enjoy your Saturday night and or your Sunday, and the whole week is totally different from when you lose a game. So it's I learned quick.
That's all agree.
That's what good senior players do to you. They should be able to help you and learn. You should be able to learn from them, and I did.
You just said something interesting there, Charlie, about young lads, and that's my biggest bugbear at the minute. And I see a lot of players in my area in the northeast that they get released by Premier League clubs, Championship clubs, and they fall down quite a long way down the pyramid in football, and feel sorry for themselves a little bit, and they think people owe them a favour. And sometimes you just got to get back on that horse and keep working hard and get that opportunity back, because there's a reason why things don't work out, because clubs are carrying a lot of players and things. But I find sometimes with young lads that they take it for granted that they're a professional footballer or they're in a professional football club, and unfortunately, that the percentages what make it to the highest level or get an opportunity is very minimal.
No, and I think you're the same, that when you get an opportunity to, let's say, for instance, if you get released from Middlesbrough, and where do you go from there? You end up at maybe Hartlepool or somewhere like that.
If you're lucky at the minute,
yeah. But what I'm saying is, if that's the step back that you have to take, when you make that step back, make sure you apply yourself.
I totally agree.
Just as much as you did as if you were at Middlesbrough, because you know what it's like to be there. So why do you not want to get the opportunity to go back there? And your performances at a Hartlepool will get you back there if you go and you do it right. And just like you said before, I think the younger players nowadays, football owes them something. It's like they don't want to go and grab it by the throat. They don't want to, take the bull by the horns and just and grasp being a footballer. It's they think it's easy, or they just think that it's all right, I've got another year in my contract. Well, sometimes you just need to take a step back to realise that, take a step back to go 2 steps forward. And no, I think it's the players nowadays are different from when we were younger.
No, well, I totally agree there, and I've said the same thing. I've had the same conversation with people similar age to myself, a little bit older, that I'm respectful of what you said, that the older players helped me through, dragged me through, but it wasn't a guarantee, I had to put the work in, nobody gave me nothing for nothing. I had to put the effort in. If I didn't put the effort in, I was told on a daily basis, and I wasn't told nicely, by the way. I was told in no uncertain terms to pull my finger out. You know what I mean? I was no one special. You know what I mean? I was a young lad. I wore the shirt with pride. Every shirt I did wear, but you know what I mean? I just think sometimes that things get lost in translation, that kids, younger players think that they deserve an opportunity. And some players can, you said earlier on about 23s, under 23s, that they can go to 21, 22, 23 and have a handful of games where, you know what I mean, there's a level for everybody, I find, and I say, you know what I mean, that if they have to drop down 5 leagues to step back up in a couple of seasons. For me, you're playing more regular football, and it's going to have a longer effect on your football career than it is staying at the top level for 3 years and then all of a sudden never playing football again, because it's heartbreaking when that's taken away from you.
But look at Jonathan Greenan, mate. Sorry, Charlie. We talked to Jonathan Greenan last week, and he was in that exact situation where he got to his early 20s. He was playing at Man United. They wanted to keep him, but he wanted to play week in, week out, and he left. You got to make a decision, and I kind of agree with you, mate. That I think a lot of young players sometimes they don't want to drop down the leagues to get experience. Not all of them, because some do. Sorry to jump in there, Charlie.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's a worry, because you look at now, come the summer, there's going to be loads of players out of contract. So if you've got a contract, you're going to be a lucky player to have a contract, because this pandemic's going to, crucify football and come the summer,
Yeah, that's about lower league as well. You know that I know I was critical earlier on about the leagues not being similar all the way across, but I feel so sorry for some of the players who are going to be scraping around next season in League 1, League 2. You know what I mean, conference side, and you know what I mean, and who need the bills paying. You know what I mean, the same as anybody else, and it's such an uncertain time for everybody. But you know what I mean, hopefully that football can come together and money can be found. If that's filtered down from the Premier League, then I don't know. You know what I mean, loads of conversations need to be done, but hopefully football comes back and teams can afford to put budgets back in so players can get paid.
Yeah.
Right, moving forward, Charlie. So obviously European football's played a huge part in your career so far. I read a great stat about when you were at Rangers about Champions League, and about Stuttgart in particular, that obviously you scored your first Champions League goal against Stuttgart, and then you scored again against them. So tell me about those 2 games.
So I was the thing for me when I was at Rangers, it was more of I always used to play in the big games, which was amazing but frustrating, because we'd play Kilmarnock or a Dunfermline or a Motherwell, and I wouldn't play. But if I was playing Aberdeen, Celtic, Hearts away, Hibs away, I'd be in the team playing, because he knew that I could do a job, and I was tactically I was disciplined, and I'd use my brain, and things like that. So I'd play in the big games, and then obviously the Champions League we qualified for the Champions League, which was massive. The music, we got Barcelona, Stuttgart, and Lyon, and we played Stuttgart at home.
It's quite an easy draw, Charlie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was easy enough, but but by that time, so we played Stuttgart at home, and I think we won 2-0. Alan Hutton, former player, and he used to go the mazy run. He went in this mazy run, and
good play.
And he's passed the ball to me on the edge of the box, and I've cut inside on my right side. I don't know why. Cut him aside, and I've just bent one in the corner past the goalkeeper, and I just, there's no better. As a striker, there's no better feeling scoring a goal, is there? It doesn't matter if it's happened. It's even today, just scoring a header, I was buzzing just to score a goal.
Yeah, I used to celebrate. Like every goal was from the halfway line, mate. So I don't worry about
that. It's just the buzz of scoring a goal is just it's amazing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I scored the goal, and it was incredible. And then obviously the away game, I was on the bench, and somebody got injured, and I come on the sub, and I said to the lads on the bench, Chris Boyd and that, I said, I'm going to score here. It was a set corner kick. He said, I'm going to come on here and score. And we always used to laugh and joke, things like that. And I come on, just read the knockdown, I scored the goal, and it was we beat them away in Stuttgart as well. It was great games. The Champions League is obviously the quality opposition and competition, but it was two good goals.
But then Europa League didn't do you too badly, did it? Because obviously you went all the way to the final with Rangers as well. But obviously obviously didn't work out in the final. Obviously, a lot of British teams have got to the final and came across some good sides. But talk us about the all the way through, or some of the big games towards coming up to the final.
The Europa League was the UEFA Cup was it was a great run for us. I played away in Wolfsburg. We played in Wolfsburg at the time, and the little magician Diego played, a little Brazilian midfielder. Yeah. He played for them. Unbelievable, and they absolutely battered us in the second over in Germany. And Alan McGregor had an unbelievable game. I think we nicked a 1-0 there, and then I got injured in training. We were playing little boxes in Rondo, and I was training, and Ali McCoy used to just try and wind me up, and I just said to lads one day, I'm having him. I'm just going to take it. I am going to have him. I'm going to take him out. And I went to jump in for a tackle with him and done him, and ended up doing my knee and popped my knee, and I missed all the games away in Fiorentina and things like that. I was there obviously for the game because I was coming back from injury, but luckily for me, I'd been out of it, and I was on the bench for the final against Zenit, and they were, what a team they had at that time. You know, they were brilliant. Arshavin, Timashuk, Fernando Rixon. They were a top Russian team, and they beat us fair and square on the night.
Charlie, who do you think was the most underrated player you played with at Rangers?
Underrated. I think a lot of the players there at the time, end up having good careers. I was fortunate enough. Somebody like Pedro Mendes, I played with him. He was phenomenal. So Barry Ferguson was a top player. David Weir come in at 36 or something like that, and come in. He's only going to sign for the season. Top player. Only going to sign for the season. End up staying for about 4 or 5. He was a top professional. Steve Davis was there at the time. Brilliant player. I wanted a great career. Chris Boyd just scored goals. That's why he was bothered about talking about strikers. No link-up play. Not interested in anything else. Just put the ball in the box for him, and he'll score a goal. That's how you say to me. Just put the ball in the box and I'll score a goal, and that's what he done. And it was. I was fortunate enough. I played with some great players over the years at Rangers, the De Boers and things like that. It was amazing. But if I had a personal favourite, Shot Arveladze was my favourite player of all time. He was a top guy, and played for Ajax. The ability he had was amazing, and he used to look after it as well.
Chris Boyd was forever linked with Cardiff for a move. He was every transfer window. Chris Boyd's going to Cardiff.
I think it was either him or Stevie Thompson, wasn't it? And obviously Stevie Thompson's side, just as I left. So I think Chris was going to go there. I think it was a toss up between the two, but Stevie Thompson went instead.
Indeed.
You said earlier on, Charlie, about being disappointed and heartbroken. I think you used the word about leaving Rangers. Obviously, you left to go on loan at Blackpool.
Yeah.
So tell us how that came about, because obviously, I've been in a similar boat. That you leave a club that you love playing for, and you go somewhere, and sometimes you don't think it's going to be what it is, but then all of a sudden it turns into a fairy tale, and your life's so different because of the move. But basically.
The thing is, I had Alex McLeish. He got rid of me at Rangers. He gave him a Rangers debut. He got rid of me, and he gave him a Scotland debut. So it was tough, but it just got to a point where I wasn't playing regular enough. They'd bought a few midfielders: Steve Davis, Kevin Thompson, people like that, and I knew I wasn't going to play. And the club turned around and said, "Listen, you can go for £500,000. No, sorry. The loan deal was it just came out of the blue. I got said, listen, Blackpool want to take you, and I called my dad and my mum and said, listen, Blackpool want me to go there on loan. I was thinking, Blackpool, I don't want to go there for. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I never been to an English club. I'd always been to St Mirren and Ross County and enjoyed playing every week. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to have a go. There was a few Scottish lads there at the time. I went down, loved it. Played for 6 months, got sent off my first game, The fans took to me. We just scraped relegation. I went back up to Rangers. Obviously, at that time, Blackpool would never buy in any players. We got told it was going to be £500,000. And so we felt it was going to, talking to my agent at the time, just saying, I think it might be too much. I don't think they could afford it. And I was close to going to Preston. They wanted me, and they could only pay £400,000 for me. So luckily for me, that just out of the blue one day, I'd all the way on the phone, and they said, listen, we're going to take that £500,000, we're going to pay it. And they paid it, and I was desperate to come back, and like I said, the rest was history. I went there, and I fell in love with the place, and obviously I still live in the area now, and I love it here. I love living here, and it was a great move for me at the time.
Do you think Cardiff's hearts?
we'll go on about that soon. Do you think a lot of Scottish players move to English football for the right reasons, to obviously enhance their careers, and do you think a lot more are going to follow suit as well, Charlie, because it's a place to play football?
I think it's a good market. I think there's good players in Scotland that you can get cheap. If you want to buy players, listen, the Scottish players will come with the right mentality. If it's a toss up between a foreign player or a British or a Scottish player, you might side with that Scottish player because the mentality is going to come in. He'll know what it means to play in England, to win, the tempo of the game. We're not blessed with multiple of talented players as in technical ability, but the one thing you get with Scottish players is they work hard. They're good in the dressing room, and things like that. So I think a lot of clubs in England now will look at Scotland and think there's good value there. And I think over the years we've come down and we've done well enough to do that, you know what I mean, for relatively cheap money. So hopefully that can continue. And I think, listen, everybody wants to come and play in England. If there's an opportunity they can, then I think they would.
So you obviously mentioned obviously the transfer fee was agreed, £500,000, which is obviously a huge deal for Blackpool and a big push for them. So obviously they realised at the time that, you know what I mean, you were obviously a big player in order for them to bring in, and obviously it paid dividends, didn't it? Because obviously the highlight of your, well, probably before going to the Premier League was the playoffs, and probably starting the semi-final against Nottingham Forest. Obviously, a massive game between one of the greats of English football. Nottingham Forest. You know what I mean? You went into the game as underdogs. I remember watching both games live on Sky, and you know what I mean. Goals for fun in the two legs overall, and I didn't fancy Blackpool to win at all, but then they always came back to show, show that they were a good side, and you always had the players, the Gary Taylor-Fletchers and yourself, and you just score goals for fun.
Yeah, we did, and Ollie obviously was instrumental in that. He'd obviously been at the game for a bit. He obviously went to watch Swansea and how they played, the way he wanted to play it for the back, and the way they played such good football, and he felt that I was going to be a massive part in that the Blackpool team and how he was going to build it. So when he called me, he said, I'm going to build the team around you. I need you just to do what you've done before. We'll get good players around you, and come and play, and I'll get you to the Premier League. And I just thought it was, you half listen and you think, yeah, okay. But going back to the games, there was a little bit of mind games with Billy Davis, in our home game. He come in shouting in the tunnel and all that before the game, and it got to us. We sort of, we beat them twice that season, so we had the edge over them. We felt that we were good enough, and obviously Billy said a few things before the game in the tunnel at our place, and we got our backs up, and we fell behind to a great goal from Chris Cohen, but we responded, which we normally did over the season. We come back, and Keith Southern had scored a goal, fluke of a goal, and then I obviously scored a penalty to make it 2-1. We knew that we could score goals. It was just a matter of, Nottingham Forest had a great record at home. We went there on the night, and we played some of the stuff we played was unbelievable, and the result we got was great as well. So it was a great night, and we enjoyed it after it as well. So it was good.
I bet you did. Yeah, there's not a better feeling knowing you're going to a playoff final. I think this is the time, Si, isn't it, when you go to the toilet or go and make a cup of tea, and all the Cardiff fans go and have a couple of minutes off in it.
Yeah, my stream's
Charlie,
breaking up.
Playoff final. I watched the game a few times. I watched your goal about 15 times today. Never mind. I've watched it from different angles. To score in a playoff final, you know what I mean, is one thing, but to score a goal like that in circumstances like that is just something else, eh?
The pressure was there, and there is a story to the free kick. Obviously, I'd like to special mention to Peter Whittingham. Obviously, sadly passed away recently, and it was between me and him for the top goal scorer. He was 25 goals. I was on 19 or something like that, and that season he was flying, hitting free kicks, scoring goals for fun. Massive talent. He was the best player. Him and McPhail were the two best players. They were a big worry for us. Yeah. And we were training at Watford before the game, and obviously go through the set plays before the game. And we were worried about Peter Whittingham so we set up a free kick. Talk about Peter Whittingham, he could score a goal like that. And I just walked over. The wall was set up, and I walked over to the after the training and just walked up to the ball, whipped it. It was the exact same identical position as it was at Wembley, and I whipped this one in the top corner, and I've just walked off the pitch and just said to the manager and shouted to the lads, "You don't need to worry about Peter Whittingham. Big players turn up at the big moments, and that's what I'll do." And I just walked straight on the bus, never said anything. And the lads come on the bus after training, just clapping, just as if shocked, it was wow, what had happened. And then the next day, and a little secret I go into my before games, how I play the game, is that I visualise things in my head before the games, night before a game. If I think something's going to happen in the game, what am I going to do? How am I going to pass it? Where am I going to run? Things like that. I've always done it my whole career, and that moment was there, and I was just fortunate enough I had that moment again at Wembley in front of 80,000 people, and it stood me in good stead, and I managed to put it in the top corner and got us back into the game.
How did you feel, Si, when that ball hit the net?
I was crying, mate. Interesting. Jack there says Chopra, Bothroyd, who had an England cap, McPhail, Whittingham, etc. Was that Cardiff side the best Championship side never to go up? Because they had an incredible squad.
They had a great squad, didn't they? Chopra defensively had McNaughton, Hudson. Left back was Kennedy.
Yeah, Mark Kennedy.
Marshall in goals, McPhail, Whittingham.
Who else was it? Chopra,
Bothroyd, Chopra.
Ross McCormack.
Ross McCormack.
But the big thing for us was how we felt that the plan for us was that Cardiff were going to play 4-4-2. Whittingham would probably tuck in a little bit. And we knew that if we can get past Chopra and Bothroyd, we knew they were never going to chase back. So as soon as our centre-half stepped in, we had an overload straight away because we knew that they two wouldn't drop in and track back. The big thing for us, Bothroyd went off early, which was massive for us. And I think
he was on fire as well, wasn't
he? He was a big player for them. And they brought on Kelvin Atu, who was it?
It was. Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So they brought him on. So there was a big difference to them, and then we started to get control of the game. And once we scored the goals, we reacted that way. Chopper scored a great goal, and then who else scored the goal? The other goal was
the goals were scored by Chopper and Joe Ledley.
Ledley, I forgot Joe Ledley as well. So we bounced back twice. My free kick, and then obviously Fletch scored, and then Brett scored that goal, 3-2. And second half, I think Cardiff had an opportunity to hit the bar, Chopper again, and then after they hit the bar, we dominated the second half really, and we've seen it out well. So it was a massive moment for us as a club like Blackpool that we were tipped to get relegated, and to go there and to win at Wembley was amazing.
We better move on, Si, because
I was just going to say,
just because there's too many people getting upset in the group chat here.
I know. Charlie, obviously, people who are maybe don't support the teams that you play for, obviously, you're probably most well known for that goal you scored for Chelsea. But I understand that wasn't the first time you've scored from halfway. You did it in one of your, I think it was a reserve game, was it, for Blackpool, like your first game or second game?
Well, because, like you say, going back to when I don't play, because I was suspended, I got sent off for 3 games. There was a reserve game against Accrington at Accrington, and I wanted to play in the game because I hadn't played for a couple of weeks. And I chipped a goalie for about 50 yards, but I'd actually scored one better than that for St Mirren when I was on loan at St Mirren. No, sorry, I was on loan at Ross County. I scored a similar goal against St Mirren. So it was. So
how many times have you done it in a in a game?
I think three now.
Just
how many times have you tried it, Charlie?
3,000.
and every time it doesn't work out. Does the goalkeeper kick the ball as far away as he can, just to get on your nerves?
Yeah, or a shank it, or I just don't lift my head up. You know what I mean? Because I know that I'm going to get dogs abuse from my teammates. But listen, I was just fortunate enough at that moment it happened, and against one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and Chelsea were a top team at that time as well. So it was was a great moment.
Yeah. Well, going on to that summer, sorry, and I was trying to know what that summer was like. Obviously, Blackpool going to the Premier League was a hell of a story, and they did pretty well, particularly in the early part of that Premier League season. But what was that summer like? The build up to to coming into the Premier League with a club the size of Blackpool.
It was shambolic, really, because we had no training ground. We never knew what was going on. We were still washing our own kit, and it was just off the pitch at Blackpool wasn't great, but we made it what it was. We enjoyed it. We embraced it. We made it into a laugh and a joke and a culture that everybody had to buy into. Everybody bought into it, and it was great. The biggest problem we had was trying to get the right players in. Do you know what I mean? The big thing worry is for a club like Blackpool, when they come into the Premier League, is they think they need to sign, 20 players in the window, when you don't really. You need to just bring quality in instead of quantity. We brought too much quantity in, and we had an overload of players. But it was a great summer. I enjoyed it, knowing that you're going to be a Premier League player the following season, and a great way to. But even the pre-season for the Premier League was terrible. We ended up in Devon for a pre-season tour. It was rubbish, you know what I mean? But that was the way it was, and now we got on with it, and now we beat Wigan 4-0 in the first day, and then the second game we got beat 6-0 at Arsenal. So we were brought down to earth quite quickly.
So obviously ended in heartache and a bit of heartbreak for yourself, Charlie. Obviously getting relegated and things, so how was your overall experience in the Premier League? Did you enjoy it? Was it a fairy tale? Was it everything you thought it would be?
Oh, I loved it. I felt that pressure. I felt like I always had the captain's armband. I felt that I had the onus to go and produce every week. That I was the one that I felt that everybody had to look up to. That I was the inspiration to help the team. I scored 14 goals, and I think I got 7 or 8 assists that season as well in the Championship and the Premier League. So, I embraced it. I was fortunate enough, but I had good players and good people around me as well. That's half the battle. It's not about me, just only about me. There was other good players in the team as well, and I think losing a goalkeeper through injury away at West Ham was difficult for us, and that set the tone really. We had 25 points after about 18 games, and we were flying. We lost a couple of key players, and we never recovered from that. So there's obviously a disappointment from that, but I was fortunate enough. I ended up getting an amazing move to Liverpool on the back of it.
Well, you just took the word out of our mouth. So obviously you impressed a club in particular. Liverpool had a couple of bids rejected before. Obviously they got the one accepted for you, and obviously you moved to Anfield, which is obviously a dream move for everybody but Si, I think. and all the Man United fans, but tell me like about Liverpool. You know what I mean? 'Cause every kid's dream to play at Anfield in front of the Kop, and you know what I mean, and in the history it goes with playing for Liverpool.
Yeah, well, I was fortunate enough that we beat them twice that season, Liverpool, in the Premier League. We went to Anfield, we won 2-1. I scored a penalty, and it's just when the crowd, the Kop are up singing, you know, you're singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," and you know the players, you know, all the banners and the mosaics and all that. It makes, you know, you get a shiver. And I was just fortunate enough that I embraced it when I went there to play with Blackpool, Liverpool. I stood there and I watched the Kop, and I just thought, wow, it's incredible. And when I got that move, it was just, I embraced it. You know, I ended up playing 37 games or something like that. And, you know, people will never take that away from me. I always tell people I'm one of the lucky ones that managed to get an opportunity to play for Liverpool Football Club. And, you know, you can never take that away. And that was a great feeling.
You played with some unbelievable players, you know, Gerrard, Suarez, and many others. What was it like to, you know, with no disrespect to Blackpool in any way, but like to go from playing for Blackpool to then playing against, you know, playing with Steven Gerrard, Luis Suarez in a stadium like Anfield? That must have been quite a difference. I know you had the experience of Ibrox, obviously, but
yeah. Like you said, I used that. Rangers is a big club, so I had that experience of a big club. I'd only obviously seen Liverpool on the telly. You know, your Gerrards, Carragher, Suarez, people like that. And when I went into the dressing room, I was nervous, which with everybody, I was overawed a little bit with the players that were in there. But you know, once you get playing and you get in the rhythm of playing with them, it's just a day-to-day pleasure to be in there. Do you know what I mean? It was just an amazing feeling, and I was lucky that the lads at Blackpool were buzzing for me when I got the move. Do you know what I mean? It was like they were never off the phone asking what it was like. Mm-hmm. You know, what the lads like, and it was, you know, we're in a group chat now, the lads from the Blackpool team. So it's good that, you know, they were buzzing for me to get that move, and when I walked in signed that contract, it was life changing on and off the pitch. You know what I mean? It was brilliant, and you know, it was a great club, and I was just unfortunate it was only for a year. But you know, you make decisions in your career that you feel that's right for that, and I had to make that decision when Stoke come to sign me. You know.
So obviously moving to Stoke, Charlie. Obviously it was a Premier League move again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean. So tell us the thought process behind it. Was it driven by the manager? Was it driven by yourself that you saw it as an opportunity to play more football, regular football?
Well, I had a chat with Brendan, and he told me that Liverpool needed the money to sell me. But I was clued in. I knew that I was never going to play, and you know, obviously at that time they were trying to get rid of Henderson as well for swap deal for Clint Dempsey. And Jordan refused it. And I obviously knew that I wasn't going to play. And I felt, do you know what? I want to play. I hadn't even spoke to Stoke. My agent just told me that, you know, Stoke want you. It was a bid, and this was it. So I went to the training ground, signed the contract, spoke to the manager, and that was it. It was, in hindsight, it was great. I loved it. 7 years there. It was a brilliant time. First 6 months was obviously difficult because, you know, after being there 3 months, I lost my dad, which was tough for me. And the manager sort of bombed me out a little bit when that happened, and you know, told me that in the January window, said, listen, we don't think it's worth it for us as a club and you as a player. So it'd be best if you moved on and blah, blah, blah. So the only thing that saved me from leaving there was that I'd played for Liverpool in the Europa League against Hearts. So you can't play for 3 clubs in a one season. So I was stuck there anyway to the summer.
Right.
So I obviously seen it out, and then I played a few games at the end of the season. And then Mark Hughes come in and everything changed, and it was clean slate. And I ended up staying there for another 6 years, I think it was, or 7 years.
I seen obviously a lovely story. Obviously really sad that your dad passed away, and obviously the club give you a bit of time off. But then obviously you came back and you scored a goal and dedicated for your dad. So how did that feel? Because obviously that must have been so special. Obviously I seen you your social media on Father's Day. Obviously, you know what I mean. Tough time again. So you know what I mean. It must have been nice to dedicate something to him, something so special to you.
Yeah, because he was a huge influence in my career. Like, I was fortunate enough, when I was younger, he was on me hard, and, you know, he pushed me into being a player, but he was a player himself, and he never wanted me to make the same mistakes he did. And I was just, you know, I was driven by his you know, failures, really. And I just felt that it was right. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been in that position or in that career I've had through what he done for me and helped me through that. So, listen, at the time, it was tough. And, you know, obviously when an anniversary or Father's Day's come round or a birthday, it is tough. But, you know, you get to learn to adapt to it and get used to it. The problem now is you've got young kids that are asking about how it happened and what happened. So it's tough. But no, I'm just fortunate enough that he was in my life for a long time. And, you know, I've had a good career, and he was a major part of it.
I'd be very proud, mate. I tell you, I'd be very proud of what you've achieved, mate.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. So just before we kind of move on to Stoke, Charlie, I wanted to ask you, obviously, you stayed with Liverpool for a year. You played sort of 38 games, which, as you said, no one could take that away from you. Massive club. But in terms of like the length of your stay there and the amount of maybe games you played, with the benefit of hindsight, would you have picked a different club, or would you have still gone with Liverpool because of the size of the club and the experience that you got?
No, listen, I don't regret one moment going to Liverpool. Loved every minute of it. The only thing is, you know, could I have been a bit of different mentality and thinking, do you know what, I might sit this out and something might happen in the season, an injury, or all of a sudden you might be back in. But when you've got that inside you that you want to play every week and you don't want to sit in the stand and you feel, you know, you're picking up good money, and I felt that I had to earn that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I've always been like through my career. It's, you know, if I'm not playing and there's an opportunity for me to go and play somewhere else where I'm going to play and I'm going to be a main player in that team, or I'm going to be getting an opportunity to help that team progress, then I'm definitely one for taking up on it. I'm not here to just sit and take money, because it's not right. You know, the career is, you know, you can look back and say, oh yeah, I played 200 games. Or you can look back and say, yeah, but I played 600 games. You know what I mean? And that's the decision you make. And I had to make that as a football decision. And I made that the right decision, because I ended up at Stoke for 7 years. And it's a great club.
I think it's a breath of fresh air, Charlie, listening to that, you know, because I think a lot of, I keep referring back to young people, and you know what I mean? And I know there's a lot of footballers who watch this, and, you know what I mean, you need to listen to that advice, because the football career is so short. And if you're sat on the bench and, you know what I mean, you think it's a laugh and a joke, you know what I mean, go and play some football, go and make a name for yourself. You know what I mean? It's not about celebrating someone else's good work and someone else's played well and won a game and getting their accolades. You know what I mean? Go make a name for yourself. It's not about sometimes winning and losing. It's about making a name for yourself and playing well and putting your name out there in the shop window. And you know, I'm always a big advocate, mate. If you're playing well and you're playing games, money's going to follow anyway. So, you know what I mean? It's about playing football and regular football and playing as long as you possibly can and dragging your career out as long as you possibly can. And the only way of doing that is by playing games, because you can get really comfortable sat on your backside. And it can be the worst thing in your career, because people, other managers, scouts, fans, sometimes think, he's not bothered about playing. He's happy sitting on the bench, and you don't want that kind of reputation, unfortunately.
But I'm half like that now at 34 years of age. You probably know when you're not going to play at the weekend, but you don't accept it until you get told the team. But I still get that disappointment in myself that I'm not playing, even though, you know, I know that I'm not going to play 46 games in the Championship. But, you know, I still get that disappointment on a Friday night. I'm sat at home thinking, right, I'm absolutely gutted I'm not playing tomorrow. But what I do is when I get back in the next day, I don't have that hangover of I'm walking around or I'm not bothered. There's more important things. The whole team's important than that. Do you know what I mean? It's
I totally agree.
You get that.
Totally agree.
You get over that disappointment. It's.
Well, I think you've shown that, Charlie. I think you've shown that we're playing games. You're playing more than a lad did who started on Saturday. So a lad starts on Saturday, plays 60, 70 minutes. You came on Saturday, and then you played again today. So in a week, you're playing more minutes than somebody who started a game on Saturday. So it shows that you're wanting to improve. You're wanting to keep on ticking over, improve your fitness levels, improving your match sharpness to stay, to move, to do whatever. You know, it's professionalism at its finest, and I think a lot of young people and older players, I think, should be listening and watching and taking note, because it's a skill in itself. Moving on. Obviously, Stoke ended up getting relegated, Charlie, towards the end before you left. Obviously, Gary Rowett took over. Obviously, things didn't work out. Obviously, the way that Eula wanted, and obviously you moved on. No. Things didn't work out for Gary either. You know, so talk us about what it was like playing under him. Because obviously, he came with a bit of a reputation. It was a step up for him. He'd obviously done a decent job in his previous job, and obviously got a big job in taking over at Stoke.
Yeah, he'd come in. You know, I just felt that obviously he'd done a good job where he'd been, and he'd come in there, and we had a few senior players. Not sure if he enjoyed the senior players. Really, didn't want to use them as well as he probably could have. And you know, I trained for 10 days, never spoke to him. And then I went in his office and I said, listen, what's happening? He said, you ain't going to play. I said, find yourself a club. I went, I'm not going anywhere. I said, this was my point now. I ain't going anywhere. I said, the players you signed are not good enough that I know I'm better than what you've signed. And he never took to that. He didn't accept that. So we had a few not run-ins, but we had a few chats where he put me over with the 23s for a bit, because I didn't accept that. I felt I was good enough to play in his team, but obviously he'd spent 30 million quid on players, and obviously wanted to do it his way. He obviously felt that the team that got relegated, he felt that he wanted to get pushed. You know, he kept a few senior players around the group, but myself and others, you know, we were over with the 23s at times, and then I got told that I wasn't allowed to tackle in training, and I just knew I said it was close to coming to a mutual agreement, and it just never happened. It was difficult. You know, that was the only time. This is probably the only time in my career I dug my heels in, because I knew that I still had a lot to offer, and I felt strongly about it. Still felt that I was good enough to get in that team. I never. And then, you know, obviously Nathan Jones come in, and we won the first game, drew the second game, and then he left me out again. So it was tough. It was tough, and it was sad the way it ended for me at Stoke, because I love the club. You know, it's a club that's grown to me, and my kids and my family loved it as well. But no, that's football. We all know that. We're all big and brave. Managers have got to make their own decisions. They've got to bring their own players in, and you know, we all move on from it.
Charlie, can I ask you there, mate? Sorry, just something you said about he asked you not to tackle in training. What was the reason behind that?
I don't know. Listen, I'm competitive, but he knew that, you know, I would probably go around, you know, playing in the wrong way, and you know, maybe leaving something on somebody. Yeah, they're taking my position.
Charlie, had you seen your tackle on Ali McCoist?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I'm competitive, and how I feel now is that even at my age now, you know, I ain't just going to allow somebody to accept taking my jersey on a Saturday. I'm going to be up there competitive. I'm going to be at it. Had a few run-ins with a few players over it. And if they didn't like it, they didn't like it. That was tough. But, you know, they've got my jersey. I want it out. I want to play. I feel that I'm good enough. I just never got the opportunity to do that. And that's football. You know, you have to sometimes realise that it is not going to work with the managers that you are, and you know, you move on from it. And it ended sadly because the results weren't right.
Obviously, Charlie, you moved to Reading. We're not going to spend a lot of time on Reading because I don't think it's fair to talk about obviously a current club and a club obviously you're still playing for. So obviously, we played at the weekend. You played against Stoke City, which obviously timing's everything. Timing's everything in this game. You playing against Derby next weekend?
We played Derby Saturday, Brentford Tuesday. So 2 tough games. 2
very tough games. Obviously, Derby for me since it's the Wayne Rooney factor. So tell us what your thoughts are about Derby at the weekend.
Yeah, Derby, like I say, it's Wayne's obviously gone there. He's been a top player, still is a top player. He's a key player for them, and Lawrence is a good player as well. So no, we beat them earlier in the season. So it'll be a tough game up at Derby. Obviously, no crowd, which for me, I think it makes the game even. So we'll go there confident to win the game. We'll have a strategy come Thursday how we want to play, and we'll be ready to play. And then another tough game against Brentford, who I think are one of the best passing teams in the league, and the movement they can cause you and the problems they can. It'll be a very difficult game, but we're at home. We'd expect to beat anybody at home, really.
You said there, Charlie, just to finish up before we get some questions from all our wonderful viewers and listeners. You said about being a leveller. So do you believe that now with obviously no crowd that you're going obviously to Pride Park, which I wouldn't say it's a hostile place to play, but it's always a decent place to play, good atmosphere. It's always pretty full.
Yeah, I think any away ground, it's you're at a disadvantage. Obviously, we don't know how we're going to go when we go there. It's what the dressing room's going to be like, where we're getting changed yet, or what's going to happen. It's going to be a totally different scenario for us. But no crowd. It's 11 v 11. We feel that we've got players that can go and hurt them in our front forward areas. And I think on our day, then we definitely believe we've got a chance of winning.
100%.
I agree.
I've completely gone. I was going to ask something, and it's just completely gone out of my mind. So if we could just finish off, Charlie, I just was going to kind of give you some of the questions which we've had throughout the show. One of them was, who do you think is going to win the championship, and who do you think is going to go down? Obviously, understand if you don't particularly want to sort of name clubs which you think are going to go down, but who do you think will win the league?
I think West Brom will win.
Cardiff, obviously.
I think West Brom will win the league. I think Leeds will go second, and I think it could be Brentford's year.
Yeah,
I hope so. Charlie.
Yeah, I do
just for the way that they play, and also I think for their manager, for the football club, the way that they're moving new stadium. I think if they don't go up, I think a lot of their players will move. Move away. This will be it for them.
This could be the biggest exit of players. When they lose Mopai and people like that, they've only used 1 or 2. They could end up losing 5-6 players this summer.
Easily,
especially with this pandemic and new stadium getting built. They could lose 5 or 6. So I think this could be the best chance for them going up this year.
Yeah, and to be fair, they probably deserve it as well. I look at the other sides in the playoffs, and obviously they beat Fulham at the weekend. And for me, it's probably out of them and Fulham. The other spaces might be filled by Cardiff, Blackburn, Swansea.
I really think Blackburn are an outside bet as well. I think
you've been watching our old show, Charlie, haven't you? We've tipped them for promotion.
I was fortunate enough that I went there pre-season just to get fit, because it's 10-15 minutes from my house. I went and Tony Mowbray was kind enough to allow me in there for a month to get fit.
Mugger very well.
To get fit, I managed to get his number and speak to him, and he was like, no problem, come in there. But the big thing about them is they've got a great team spirit. Bradley Dack's going to be back soon as well. I think could be a massive player for them. I really like him. I think he's quality. And they got good players as well, you know what I mean? So I believe that spirit is a big part of what you've got, and they've definitely got that in their group, so they could be a dark horse.
Lewis Holtby on a free. The signing of the season, that is.
I'll tell you, Charlie. I was heartbroken when Bradley got injured. I was like a broken man. I raved about him week in, week out on the Championship show, and I I feared for them. You know what I mean? They had a bit of a bad time when he first got injured, but then obviously Lewis Holton got fit. Stewie moved into different areas. Gallagher took over. Danny Graham started scoring goals again. Armstrong started scoring goals. So they've had different players step up to the table, which they needed really badly.
Stewie's done unbelievable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Great,
35 years of age, played nearly every game. But like I say, I think they had that whole kick in the teeth with Bradley. That he was his best player. He was their main man. And do you know what? I actually thought on the outside before I went in there training, I thought he's a good player, good championship player. He could definitely play in the Premier League. You know, he's
100%.
He'd be a good signing for somebody in the Premier League. You know, if he can come back from his injury, and because he's great, he's got good quality, great vision. You know, he's a top player.
Mark Sherwood also asked. Charlie said, Al Baker said, what was the highlight of your time in the game so far, and what are some of your interests outside of football?
My highlight in the game so far obviously would be that goal at Wembley, playing it, you know, getting promoted with Blackpool. Interest outside the game, I love golf. You know, I love watching, you know, flicking through the internet, watching about coaching and managers and trying to pick up on managers and coaches what they do, because that's something that interests me when I finish playing. So just that's really my interest, you know, golf, family, kids. That's it, you know.
Johnny asks you, how many tattoos have you got?
Oh, only one. My son's name.
There we go. And last one from the chat. I'm just going to pick randomly. What was the name of your student, Anne, did you say?
Ben Scaling.
Okay, there you go. Ben Scaling asked, who was the greatest manager you've worked under and why?
Greatest manager? Every manager I've had I've enjoyed different things from. Ollie was the one that gave me that platform to be the player I was. He gave me responsibility by making me captain. So, yeah, I would say him. Obviously, Kenny he's an icon, and Liverpool was great. But if I'd say one-to-one relationship, I'd definitely say Ian Holloway.
Okay, and I'm just going to let one more question in, just because we need a bit of positivity in the world. And James asks,
That's a nicest question ever, isn't it, though?
That's the nicest one we've ever had, and the most polite. Who's the nicest footballer you've ever met?
Do you know what? Every player that I've met, all the top players are incredible. People think that they're these superstars. It's no disrespect. It's when you go to League One and the lower leagues that they've got a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. But, you know, if you meet the top players, you know, your Lampards or, you know, Gerrards, you know, John Terry, people like that, if you meet them on holiday, they'll sit, have a beer with you, they'll have a chat, you know. It's the top players are the top players for a reason. And I would always say that. Every player that I've met, top player, they've always gave me respect, and they've chatted. But my favourite one was when I managed to meet Rory McIlroy. That's my favourite one.
He's a nice guy, apparently.
Top lad. I was fortunate enough that I got in behind the ropes at the Ryder Cup at Gleneagles, and I met his dad and walked 12 holes with his dad. And wow. I was in Portugal one year, and that was the season he got injured with his ribs, and he was in Portugal just practicing, just chipping and putting. And I was running through the golf course, and I seen him there, and his dad recognised me, and he stopped me, and I ended up chatting for about 2 hours with him. He just talking about everything, about life in general, about everything. He was just top man, you know.
Amazing.
Lovely.
Right. And do you want to just finish us off with the couple of questions for Charlie, and then I'll wrap us up?
Yeah. So, Charlie, you mentioned then about watching and listening closely to managers, etc., for future reference. So, what does the future hold for Charlie Adam?
Charlie Adam, definitely want to play as long as I can. I want to keep playing until my body doesn't allow it. I feel fit, feel good. Definitely going to play as long as I can. But in the background, just trying to get experience with coaching and learning every day. different things and taking on board from other managers. You know what I mean? So, taking, like I said before at the start of the show, taking up Chris Wilder and going and watching the training and speaking to people like that, it's only going to be a benefit for me, hopefully in the long run.
Totally agree. Can I just say, Charlie, you've been an absolutely inspiration to people, mate. Some of your stories, your anecdotes, the way you've held yourself in a mate. It's absolutely fantastic interview. I really appreciate your time, mate. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, spot on. It's been an absolute pleasure, Charlie. I got to say, I could listen to you for another hour and a half, but we'll let you go. Guys, thanks for everyone for tuning in. Of course, you can check out our other shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and occasionally Sunday. Video versions, youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation. Audio, all the usual places. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Follow us on social media. Thanks again to Black Diamond Sports for all their support. Please follow them on social media. Have a look, particularly if you're young footballers and or young sports stars. Have a look, get in contact, see what they're about. Obviously, Bespoke Financial is our new sponsor as well. So if you're looking for life insurance and other similar products, I would highly recommend. Andy, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
As always, mate. As always.
I nearly forgot again, like I do every week. Follow at A.C.E Footy Show on social media. It's the Andy Campbell Show page.
What else? We got the new show as well Friday, haven't we? So tune in Friday. Yeah, tune in Friday. We got our championship show back on at
7 p.m.
7 p.m. kickoff on Friday night for 45 minutes. Talking all championship fixtures, results, with some very interesting interviews as well from current and ex-players. So it should be a blast. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be something completely different. It's going to be shorter than this show. It's going to be different to our championship show. It's evolved, basically. It's an extra show. 45 minutes, half of football. And it's going to be very interesting, very much fun. So join us Friday to get ready for the football weekend. Charlie, thank you. Andy, thank you. And thank you for everybody for tuning in. And we will see you Friday. I will see you on Wednesday. Cheers, guys. As he searches for the...
It's Andy Campbell!